Good evening and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Business. I am your host, Sonny Vinuya, and as always, thank you very much for tuning in. Tonight, we're going back to basics for opening your business. This is a request, pretty much. So we will revisit that roadmap after my guest segment. And then, of course, we will talk about having insurance for your business. I have a guest that will be joining us to talk about that. But of course, as always, we will start with a little business fun fact. So the definition of small business in Nevada, according to their vice statute, defines small business as a business conducted for profit which employs fewer than 150 full-time or part-time employees. You know, I chuckle because there are so many different definitions of small business. And it's not even funny. You know, I tried SBA. They have so many different categories and size. There's a lot of different size segments to it. Same with the IRS. Since we are in Nevada, I'm going to go with the Nevada definition. 150 full-time or part-time employees or less. So that's the definition of a small business. So now, you know, when you decide to open your small business and you've got the idea, you've got the structure going, the next biggest consideration, of course, is where to open it. Where do you want to start a small business? Well, believe it or not, Nevada, the state that we are living in, is considered one of the very best to start a small business. So according to INC and Making of a Millionaire websites, here are the reasons why Nevada is so good to start a small business. So the first one is the lower cost of living. Now, I know for a lot of the people that live here now, we don't think that way. And it's true. A lot of the prices are rising up. We're almost at the point where our housing, we're going to be priced out from our housing median. But it's still pretty good compared to other states. So we still have a lower cost of living. Second would be tax breaks. So there's no corporate income tax, no personal income tax, no franchise tax, minimal employer payroll tax, only 0.63% of gross wages with deductions for employer paid health insurance, and no unitary tax. So again, those are very important things when you're considering where to start your business. We're still considered a very business-friendly climate. So yes, Nevada is still true to that form. It's even though, again, I'm going to go back, a lot of people, especially owns business here, think that, okay, there's a lot of different things. Compared to other states, it's still easier to open a small business here, and we have a very good business-friendly climate. We have a great pool of talented and skilled workers. Now, this has been a big challenge, especially this past year and a half. Workforce is very different. And of course, as we try to diversify our economy, the needs in specific workforce is heightened. Okay, so we do need to get better with that. And then, of course, we have to join, if you want to join the revolution. Tesla, for example. Tesla set up a factory outside Reno. They're doing very, very well. They got a lot of breaks, pretty much. Zappos, I know this is way back, but the owner, when he was still alive, quoted that he appreciates the endless possibilities found in Nevada. And then, of course, he started a venture fund capital in 2012. We've got Amazon fulfillment centers moving here. And then, of course, we've got those two sports teams that's moved over here. We've got, well, not really moved here. One moved here, the Raiders, and one grew from here, which is the Golden Knights. But having sports teams now is truly, it kind of gives you a taste that the city has really grown. So Nevada, very business-friendly state with low regulation environment, which offers numerous benefits to business owners. Now, of course, disclaimer, that said, it doesn't fit for everybody. So, and that's only for informational purposes. That's not an advice. So it's still up to you to do your due diligence on where you want to open your business. All right, so that's our fun fact for our business fun fact for today. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, I'm going to bring in my guest, Roger, and we're going to talk about business insurance.
Just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
PHLV Radio.
Welcome back. So, business insurance. Wow, what a sexy topic, but very, very important to have. So let me introduce my guest. Actually, I'm going to let him introduce you. He's one of my closest friends, Roger. Roger Ibrahim, please tell everybody who you are, your name of your company, how to contact you, and what you do.
Sonny, thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor as friends and also business associates. My name is Roger Ibrahim. I'm an insurance broker in Las Vegas for over 20 years. I have a small agency, and again, size matters in the insurance world. Small means I can cater to very specific people. I'm very selective on who I take on as clients. And I can, if it's got the word insurance in it, I can handle it. My office is on Sahara and 15, right across Palace Station. We are multilingual, so it's not just English. We have Spanish. We can do French, and I have friends who can translate for other languages as well. And today, as far as the topic for business insurance, it is, the word insurance is huge. People think insurance covers one thing, Sonny, but it's not. As a business owner, there's three things you got to worry about. One, protect your money, protect your assets, and protect your resources. And those things, the biggest resource is your time. And once you don't have that, you get really affected. So there is, on the business side, group health insurance. It sounds like it doesn't count like business insurance, but if you get sick and you have those bills, group health insurance is something we do. Again, small business in the world of health insurance only requires, as far as size, is 2 people. Like we can go up to 500 or 1,000 employees. And parallel to that is something called workers' compensation. Health insurance is what the employee pays themselves or the employer pays on behalf of the employee. Workers' compensation is also some sort of health insurance, but it protects the employees if they get hurt, injured, or sick because or on the job. So if you have any employees, whether they're family, relatives, as long as they collect a paycheck or some sort of benefit, whether it's a room for rent or it's a meal in exchange for time, according to Nevada statutes, an exchange of time for services, whether it's paid by fiat money or other means, creates a relationship of employer-employee. At that point, workers' compensation is required. And workers' compensation, it's a good thing. It's required by law. If you have employees that get hurt on the job and they're not, and you don't have workers' compensation, it's actually it's not a misdemeanor. It's a felony on the business owner, and the penalties can be quite severe, even jail time if it's a repeated offender. So workers' compensation is a type of business insurance. If you own a business and you have a landlord and you're renting a space, then what you actually need is most landlords will require you to carry, they call it general insurance, but it's coverage for the tenant to protect the landlord if the landlord is finds you negligent of any sort of damages. It protects your operations. It protects any liabilities. I've had a client that had those battery backup catch on fire in one of his offices. There was only smoke damage, but the smoke damage went through 3 floors, and it was over $3 million to clean up.
Wow.
Because of all the businesses next door. So general liability insurance and business insurance will cover you for things like that. Obviously, flooding, fires, those would be covered. And that's a general liability with the tenant, with the landlord covered on the policy. There's also equipment insurance. Let's say you own a restaurant. A restaurant is a very good example where you have 3 things. You have 3 things that are required. The tenant is obligated to get insurance, general liability. You're an employee because you're an employer, so you're going to have employees. That's required. And you're going to have kitchen equipment. The average size restaurant that's 1,200 to 1,500 square feet has between $100,000 and $200,000 of equipment invested.
So it sounds like, well, you answered definitely the question of why it's important to have a commercial or business insurance, right? But the way you're describing it, there's so many different types of insurances pretty much. What's the best way, or how can a business owner find out what type of insurance they need?
Education is the best thing. Ask a lot of questions. I'm available. I can be reached at my office at 702-719-4678. I have staff that can help. I can be reached online at clientfocusedinsurance@gmail.com. That's also another way of reaching me. I'll even give out my cell phone if you want it. It's 702-358-5581. But asking questions, the biggest problem in an insurance policy is not the amount you pay, it's the amount you're not going to get if there's a claim. The insurance companies love to advertise discounts. They love to say we're the cheapest insurance. However, the biggest part of the policy is an exclusion. So if you ever get a cheap policy and it's very low price, ask yourself why. Is it a risk exposure, or is it because there are so many exclusions that you're paying a little bit for hardly any coverage? Workers' compensation is a very good definition of what insurance does. You actually pay insurance based on the payroll you actually incur. So it's revised every year. You will get a refund if you do a refund, if you overreported revenue or payroll, and if you underreport, then you're going to get a bill for it.
So I guess that's going to be the first process of really getting a business insurance, would be calling and asking a lot of questions and finding out what's needed.
Yes.
What's after that? Do they need a credit check, or do they have to fill up different things?
The process is very simple. It's a questionnaire.
Okay.
The insurance company wants to find out what the business is about. And they do that to protect you. The reason why they want to know, if you're selling apples, don't tell them you're selling fruits. Tell them it's apples from specific countries, so and so, because they keep a lot of statistics from where the apples are coming from. For example, if you are delivering these apples door to door, include things like that. You really should give the agent a lot of information. A lot of it is answering questions, taking the time to educate yourself on what the process is. I love teaching my clients insurance. I hate selling it. I can scare you into buying anything, but I need to sleep at night. I would rather say, Sonny, here's what you have, here's what we need. This is what it's going to cost. If you want it, it's your choice. We can scale down. But it's a process of discovering. Don't go for the price all the time. Look for the content.
All right. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to talk about insurance more.
Thank you.
Just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
PHLV Radio.
Welcome back. All right. Let's continue our talk about business insurance. Wow. So there's so much to learn from this, and to be honest with you, it's a subject that I'm not good at. That's why I always defer to Roger. As my time as a banker, Roger is my go-to guy whenever I have a client that needed insurance. And so far, we have no other complaints. Everybody's been happy with your service.
Thank you.
Talk about home-based businesses, because a lot of our businesses are home-based. So they don't actually have an office. It's home-based. They still need insurance?
Yes and no. Okay. So everyone needs protection of what's going to happen. So geography does not limit, or where you operate doesn't limit the need of insurance. If you're a babysitter and you have 6 or 7 kids in your house, you probably don't need to get insurance, because you can always take your home policy, call your agent, and endorse it and tell them that you have that in there, so you're protected in case one of those kids get hurt at the house.
Okay.
If you are printing T-shirt out of a garage, that's a home-based business. Mm-hmm. 3 things can happen. If you have customers that come over and pick up the shirts and the customers get hurt, the probability is the home policy will not cover it. You probably want to get a general liability policy. Okay. So it really depends on the type of business you run from home. Just because it's called home, it doesn't necessarily mean you're covered by your home policy, or if you're renting the house, a renter's policy. Again, educate yourself. Give me a call. I'll walk you through the process. I will tell you where to look for information. That doesn't cost you anything. And once you decide you need it, mm-hmm. then we can continue with the process.
Okay. Well, give us some example of the worst things that can happen if you don't have the right insurance in your business.
Oh, the right insurance, it depends on the loss. If you have a fire in a restaurant and you decided to tell that you don't do any grease cooking, mm-hmm. and actually the fire started because of grease cooking, they will decline the claim. Mm. So here's a restaurant that has over $1 million in revenue a year. They have to pay for the injuries, if there's any, and they have to pay for the building they damaged and replace their equipment. That's over, from one of the losses I've seen across, that was over a $2.8 million loss. That there was no insurance to cover it because of misinformation. It's the loss you can sustain. I often tell people, they get stuck on the deductible. Do I pay $500 deductible? Do I get $1,000 deductible? Do I get a $5,000 deductible? The higher the deductible, the cheaper the insurance. Okay. So if you choose $5,000, can you afford the loss and pay it out of pocket? So there's really a typical loss. Another one, attorneys, mm-hmm. professional liability, realtors. It's all contractual. There's no physical loss. But there's a lot of assumed responsibilities that come in contracts and some due diligences. And if things are missed by court dates, the damages can be quite severe on contract, even though there's actual no physical damage or tangible damages. And one of my clients is dealing with this situation that's over $8 million lawsuit.
Wow.
And those get very hairy. Mm-hmm. He has insurance in place, but had he not have the insurance in place, which is, by the way, for an attorney and a physician, optional to get malpractice insurance. They're not obligated by the state statutes to get any.
In your experience, when's the right time for, especially on a startup business, when's the right time for them to come to you or any insurance company to say, okay, I need insurance. What do I need?
If you can plan ahead,
mm-hmm.
it should be at the same time that you're getting funding for the for the business.
Okay.
Once you get the funding, then you should look into insurance of what's needed from a risk point of view. Then you'll get a menu.
Okay. Follow-up question on that. Some businesses, they get their funding on the first sale or first service that they make. Would that be the same time?
That could work that way depending upon the business.
Okay.
If you're leasing a space, most of the time my clients get triggered by the property manager saying, I can't give you the key until you get insurance. So it's, I hate to say it, but and then there's a lot of reactionary behavior by the small business owner because they don't know where everything is. There's
Sure.
no one resource documenting things. So in my mind, market research, funding, and insurance, if you can plan it ahead, would be the first three things you need to do before you even consider renting a space. But there's so many different ways of building up a business that you learn as you go.
As you go.
Yep.
Okay. Well, tell me about this one. So, why is having the right person good for you or advantageous for you when looking for the right insurance for you?
You need to have the right advisor, someone you feel comfortable with. I'm told by my wife that I talk too much, but I actually like to tell people the full circle of what the pros and cons are on everything. So having the right person, first you want to be comfortable, someone you can trust. Where the insurance company or the insurance agency takes the money. How many people do you pay every month and you don't get a tangible thing for it? You're buying something in case of something. So you want someone you can trust in the way it's presented to you and trust the contents of the policy. So information, education, I think, is what you really want to look for in the agent.
Okay. My last question for you.
Yes, sir.
Actually, not a question. Just if I can ask you to give our audience some advice when shopping for business insurance, what would be some of the things that they really need to look out for?
Besides price, they need to look out for exclusions. When they look at the policy, 9 out of 10 people will ask, give me a price on the quote. I want it cheap. It's so easy to find a cheap policy. If something happens, the cheap policy will not cover you. I would say 8.5 times out of 10, a cheap policy will have so many exclusions that will actually protect you. So I would say, just like my mom used to tell me, check 3 things before you purchase something. Turn your tongue 3 times in your mouth before you say something. That's what my mom used to tell me. So the advice I give folks is, please shop around. Don't go after one person. Feel comfortable, have a trust, ask for referrals. And at that point, usually the friends you're around with will guide you to the right place. So I'm hoping, Sonny, you being my friend and longtime associate, you have a following that can trust me, and I'll have to account for you. I will be accountable to you if I don't take care of your people.
I like that. I like the sound of that.
Thank you, Sonny.
All right. So thank you again, Roger. It's very important. It's not a sexy topic, but it's something that's very, very needed in a small business.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming by. Thank you, Roger.
My pleasure, Sonny. Thank you.
All right. After this, we'll be right back, and we're going to start hitting the roadmap again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
PHLV Radio.
All right. I hope you found that topic very important. Business insurance is truly something that you need. You know what they say, you hate paying for it, but man, you wish you have insurance when when the need comes. Anyway, I did have a request, a couple of requests to go back on the roadmap and really talk about starting your business. So I figured it's been the first episode since we touched on it, so we'll just restart it. And moving forward, every episode now on the second half, we will go through the roadmap until we're finished. So I'm going to put it back up again, and we're going to start by talking about getting help, okay? So once you get an idea for a small business, you want to open one. Let's just, for example, you're a new grad doctor. You want to open a medical practice. What do you do now? Getting help is the first step. So when you go to getting help, when you click on that, by the way, this roadmap, again, you can get through the Nevada Business and Industry website. If you click on that, on the right-hand side top, there's a guide to starting and growing a business in Nevada. Once you click on that, this roadmap will appear. And it's an interactive roadmap, and you can click on any of these boxes anytime. But of course, I always suggest just go through it, just along the timeline. So it starts with getting help. When you click getting help, it's going to look like this. It has a list of different entities pretty much that can help you in getting ideas, setting up different things, help writing a business plan, basically any knowledge that you need to start your own business. You can also pay your CPA. You can hire a business lawyer or other entities. There's a group out there called the Asian American Pacific Islander Business Advisors. You can call them and they can definitely help you. So what do these people do? I'll give you a couple of examples. So SCORE, if you click on that, it will give you a number to an entity, a SCORE. It's a nonprofit that has mentors, pretty much. And what they do is they coach people who are looking to start businesses. So you set up an appointment, you meet with them, and they kind of guide you on what you'll need to do. The second one would be SBDC. SBDC means the Small Business Development Council. This is a great organization, and it's been here for a while. It's sponsored by UNLV and UNR up in the north. And what they do is pretty much the same thing. You can actually sign up for their services. You'll be assigned to a mentor or coach, and you can check in with that person once in a while. The one thing that I love about SBDC is they've really listened to AAPI or Asians pretty much here on what we need. In fact, a lot of their training videos, a lot of their resources, they are starting to translate in different languages. That hasn't been done before. So now I think the first two that they translated is in Tagalog and Chinese, which Mandarin and Cantonese pretty much. The other thing that I like, so for example, our chosen profession that we're using is opening a medical profession. They are working on a program right now is that when you click on their website, you look for, I want to open a medical practice, it will open up and it's got all the different licensing that you will need. They'll not do it for you, but it will guide you pretty much on where to go and how to get that license. And that's very, very important because as I advocate for small business with my job, I'm finding out that this is some of the roadblocks that people have when they're trying to start a business. Okay, where do I go? What kind of licensing do I need? Even if you pay somebody, this serves as a guide pretty much, so you know that they're on the right track, they're doing the right things for you, and they know what they're doing, and they're just not, taking your money pretty much. So those are the most important things when it comes to this and getting help. There's other organizations as well. There's the Nevada WC, the Women's Business Center for Services. The chambers can help with this one too, of course. But yeah, these would be the right. SBA is there if you want to talk about funding this early, trying to see if your business is viable to get an SBA loan and if you can start it that way, or do you need to find a different source of funding for your business pretty much. Banking, that would definitely help. They can give you different ways of how to fund your business pretty much. Once you're done with getting help, you find the place that's really comfortable for you. The next step here is planning. Now, believe it or not, planning, when you click on it, it's going to have the similar people that you clicked on getting help. So SBDC will still be there, SCORE will still be there. But in here, there's also different things that you can find. You can go to YouTube, you can Google search, of course, things that you'll need to plan your business. Now, what we're talking about in planning is, okay, maybe you could think about, okay, what type of business entity should I open? Where? Like we talked about where you want to open your business earlier. Is Nevada the best place to open your business, or is it somewhere else? What types of things will I need? Do I need insurance, for example? So there you go. And then the third would be training. On the training part, again, it's going to be the same people that you're going to be talking to, because SBDC, for example, they have videos, they have seminars that they offer, or consulting services that you can call, you can watch, read. Nevada Cooperative Extension is another one. It's another entity that pretty much started translating. The first two that they translated is actually Tagalog and Korean. I actually did the translation for them in Tagalog, and it's actually they translated this roadmap in that language. So again, this is the first big step when you start a business. Do the roadmap, click on getting help, click on planning, and then click on training. And then we'll talk about networking next week, but this first three steps are huge. There's a lot of different things that you're going to find out when you go through the planning, especially if, let's say, you're a dental practice, you want to start your own. You have to write a business plan if you're looking to get a small business loan for your dental practice. And the first thing that they'll be looking at would be your projections. And if you've never done projections before, these entities in getting help will be able to help you to do that. And then one of the things that you will need when you build your business plan would be data. They'll be able to help you at least get data for you on national averages. Okay, so for example, you want to project how many patients you'll see. You got to remember, if you're a brand new dentist, you're not going to be seeing as many patients as an existing dentist now, because of course you're starting your practice. How about marketing? How much do you have to set in place in order to market your business, especially when you're a startup? So those are the kinds of information that you'll need to learn. That's why getting help is very important. So again, these are free resources that I'm talking about that there is there. And make it easier if you're willing to pay. Your CPA can help you with that. Your business lawyer can help you with that. Or if your mother were in this field, they'll have the data for you. The easiest way, for example, if you're starting a practice, is inheriting one, correct? But in any business, this will be important. Restaurant, if you're opening a restaurant, maybe talking to a current business owner now who's a friend of yours, a current restaurant owner, they can definitely help you with giving you some insights, plus these other resources. So hopefully that helped. That's going to be our show for tonight. Again, we will hit the roadmap from now on until we finish it completely. So next week we're gonna talk about networking and business structure, and possibly naming your business. Those are the three things that we'll do next week, and then I'm sure we're gonna have a good guest for you. Till next week, see you then. Thank you very much for tuning in.